never left me. You never change. Your love kept reaching through all my pain. Wrapped in your grace, covered in mercy, held by your love every day. No matter how far. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Give me a minute here, y'all, okay? I'm just, you know, getting myself together here. I know I ain't looking so pretty, but hey, that's okay, because I'm not here for that. I just want to try to get y'all informed. You know, I'm on the battlefield for my Lord, and it ain't all about that. You're gonna get rough, okay? I'm wrapped in your grace. Wrapped in your grace. Okay, let me get myself started here, y'all. I think I'm ready. I think I am ready. But anyway, what I wanted to talk about here, you know, is about these kids, these young people, getting on a boat, drinking alcohol beverages. And I know, it might sound a little stupid. It might sound a little crazy with this whole story. Because this whole story here, whew, it doesn't sound, it sounds real fishy. And we can't really rush the judgment because y'all drinking. Y'all got alcohol on the water in a boat. What are we teaching these young people today? Just automatically just jump to conclusions that, I mean, for black people, of course, it's going to be that way. That's going to most definitely be that way. But, like I said, before we rush to judgment and before we say things that it may not have happened, wait for the investigation to continue to go on. You know, sometimes you can't hear things when it's a lot of noise around it. People saying this, you know, of course, people jump right to the first thing. It was racist. It seems racist. It seems like there is foul play. And it's a lot of things going on in this situation. I'm looking at Nolan. I'm looking at some of the video footage that they showing us, him dancing with a girl, some girls, and doing little moves or whatever like that. I'm looking at, listening to his friends, the people that he kept in his space. I'm also looking at his athletic, something with athletic stuff, skills, whatever. Then I'm looking at Carmelo, and I'm like, and all this stuff is just starting to. That's why I said I gotta let everything develop. Because right now, it don't look like the way people think it is. It doesn't seem that way. For some reason with me in my spirit right now. It doesn't, but I said let the rest of the details of the story develop. Okay? Because something don't fit right about. I'm not saying, I'm not accusing anybody of anything. That's what I'm trying to say. And I just want everybody to just be quiet and let the story. Yes, free Carmelo. That's right. Amen. I don't know what you're saying. I don't know if it's derogatory. I don't know. I can't figure it out. But anyway, what I'm saying is that as the story is developing and I'm looking at some things, I'm looking at the fact that his name Nolan Xavier, um, Wells, whatever. And then I'm looking at his parents. I'm looking at a mom. I'm looking at a dad. I see a couple. Mama looks like she's Asian or something, you know, and that could be some. I don't know. I don't know. You could you please be respectful in the chat? You don't have to come in here and be disrespectful. I don't know what you're talking about. What did I call you? I don't remember my calling you anything. Well, anyway, I was reading something that you was writing, and I'm trying to read what you're saying, and I'm just moving on what I'm talking about here. And you interrupted me, and you taking me off what I'm saying here. If you're not going to be respectful in the chat, can you please leave? You really don't need to be here if you're going to be disrespectful. If this conversation is too much for you and it's offensive, like I said, there's plenty of other places you can go and hear the things you like to hear. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. I didn't know what you were saying. That's why I was like, I'm moving on. Oh, you telling me you getting ready to have twins? I'm sorry. I apologize. No, because sometimes people saying stuff in the chat. Sometimes people saying stuff in the chat, and you using certain kind of acronyms or whatever, and I'm not really understanding. I'm older. I'm older. I'm 60 years old. So I'm just saying, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to you or anything or insult you in any kind of way. That's why I was like saying, please move if you're going to be disrespectful to me because I'm an older person. And one thing I'm not going to tolerate is disrespect. I come from a different generation, but I'm just trying to help y'all along the way. You see, this is why I'm here. I'm trying to give y'all some spirituality, learn, teach y'all, help y'all out with Christ, tell you my life stories and journeys as I go along, documenting stuff here, and also being out here helping other people. You don't know what people going through. And what you can do is help them in sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ. Isn't that what we're supposed to do? We're a Christian nation. We should be able to worship his name freely. We should be able to walk around and just be touching everybody with the love of Christ in our heart. Oh, welcome. Hi, where you come from? And if they not, good day, good day. Yeah. So this is the kind of love we supposed to offer to the foreigners. This is the kind of love we as Americans that we claim to be are supposed to be the people that influence the world. Okay? And how do we influence the world? We influence the world with our love of Christ. And we influence the world where he pours the gifts into us, how we share it with the world. When he pours into our heart for what we do for him. We defend Christ here, and that's what we do. If you come here to rob, steal, kill, or murder somebody, or rape something, oops, sorry, can't use that word, or SA someone, or you a predator or something like that, we gotta get you up on out of here. Okay? That's what America, we stand on law. Well, they could go ahead and laugh because we'll have the last laugh, okay? But anyway, ain't nobody laughing at us because we don't play. Everybody always seem to want to know what's going on in the USA. Okay? They ain't worrying about what's going on in their country. They all glued into what's going on in the USA. We are the greatest country in the world, regardless to all the drama you see right now. We good. We gonna be good. God already showed up. So I'm not worrying about what you saying. I'm not worrying about what you're saying. They could go ahead and laugh because they gonna go hungry and starve, okay? Because we they gonna need us for something. They better they gonna try to anchor their baby up in here when they go with their socialist communist, system what they was living under. Oppression and all that other stuff going on in their country. They trying to break into the United States of America so they can get something, free. Or get some freedom or some liberty or some justice. That's all I'm saying. So anyway, Anyway, like I said about these young people today, that's my conversation right now. How they out here on the boat with alcohol. Yes, we do. We have more freedom. I don't know. Ain't no president free me. I was always free. I always spoke my mind. This is just really, I'm just trying to, you know, I never was really into politics. Okay. Until we had no other choice but to choose President Trump and Kamala. I was like, oh, this is a tough one. Some said they chose to stay out of it and just take the couch. I was like, nah, because I think I voted Democrat just about all my life. I wanted something different. It was interesting. Mm. Excuse me, y'all. Sometimes you gotta, take a chance. It's like gambling. You go to the casinos. you know, Trump know about that, right? All the ones he owned. So you think I was gonna pick Kamala? He been, he been in the game for a long time. You think I was gonna pick some cackling cow or some crackling cow or whatever the heck she was? I wasn't gonna do that. Mm-mm. And then nobody with no Christian values. Nobody that's gonna say, y'all, I did something wrong here. Okay. So anyway, let me get these young people behind me. That's what I'm looking for on my green screen so y'all can see what I'm talking about, what my topic is. Okay. Here we go. That's better, right? So, anyway, like I said to you, I've always been free. I've always kept, you know, an open mind, also spoke my mind. If I didn't feel something was right, I always questioned it. All right? I always questioned, you're supposed to question everything. But anyway, moving on. Moving on. So when it came to voting for those two, when it came, I'm good. I'm Luke. I am good. How are you? Thank you for stopping in. But anyway, I'm not going to pay no attention to that. That's just something to just distract me. Whatever, if that's the way you feel, then hey. But anyway, y'all, I always spoke my mind freely. In some kind of way, sometimes I got punished for it. Yes, I have. And people didn't like, you know, what I said. And of course, some people became very aggressive. And I was like, hold up now. I listened to them. I stand. I listen to them. I stand. I allow them to feel the way they feel. But I gotta speak the truth in love. In love. Because you can hear it better when I speak like this than, you know what I'm saying? But in love. You can speak the truth. And I think it will fall much more kinder. And a person can hear you better. They can hear the word of God. How about that? They can hear God. hmm I believed in both. I believe in both. People have a right to express themselves. I believe that people, when they disagree, they have a right to give a reason why they disagree and defend themselves. I believe in self-defense, but not the kind of self-defense that the man believes in. It's a different world with men than it is with God, because God is more a God of love, grace, peace, you know, and also a God that would, if you fall to his grace, he will lift your burden. Like, you hear from the Bible, when you come to Jesus Christ, he will, you know, help you, cast your problems on him, and he will take up your yoke. You can't do it on your own. It make you feel so much better if you could take a moment out and talk to God for the right answer. I ain't talking about putting no liquor. Don't sit there drinking and you in pain and he doesn't, no, he don't hear all of that stuff, because that's the devil. He likes a sober heart and a sober mind when you want to pour out your love to him. And that's the way it is. He don't go in no dirty heart. You full with liquor and violence and all this other stuff and sorrow. No. That's going to cause you to have a nervous breakdown. That's going to cause you to go out there and even try to defend yourself with a weapon and probably end up getting yourself killed or doing something to harm somebody else that may look like that person to just tick you off at that moment, and you can just hurt that innocent person because of something. That's why I say, that's why he says, you know, we human. And that's the first reaction of a human, the flesh. They're going to first want to get angry. They're going to want to get revenge. They're going to want to get a knife. They want to stab somebody. They want to shoot somebody. Or they want to say some gossip, dirty slander about that person and destroy that person's reputation. That's human. There's two sides, and that's why we have to be careful each and every day how we start our day and how we build our relationship with our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And every morning when he wakes up, he give you breath because he has you on an assignment. Every day we try, and every blessing he gives us is our birth, as our birth go along. And some just he gonna keep here to make an example of in the end. Some he's going Stephanie Murray. I don't know her. Wow. Nothing surprises me with politicians. I'm just saying, like, they don't surprise me. You just really gotta have a heart for what you do. And what you do, you gotta do it really, truly, in spirit and in truth. And if you're gonna get in office and you're gonna work for the people, and you say you're gonna work for the people because you love the people and you want to make it right for the people and everything you put down on that policy, you have to live up to that with the people because it's the people who lifts you up. And the people can tear you right on down if you break for what they ask you to do for them. It's the people that rule the government. I don't hate white people. I never said that. I might hate what you do. I call you out. And yes, I do get upset because, when you harming somebody that look like me, you harming me too. Okay? And that's what upsets me. Because I've seen things happen and I'm not stupid and we're not going to play stupid. When we call it out for what it is what it is. Okay? Systemic racism. And the system is set up like that where white kids go and do the same amount of crimes as black kids, but black kids get punished for it and white kids get to walk free. So I'm going to defend mine just as much as you're going to defend yours. I believe in self-defense, but not in your type of self-defense because I have no weapons here on earth. Okay? And I keep telling y'all, I have no weapons on earth, but I got weapons up in heaven, and they're much more powerful. Okay? Because that's what's in your heart, not mine. And if you don't like the way I talk here, and you don't like the way I'm giving you this content here, and if it's defensive to you, if I offended you, I'm not going to be apologetic about it, because guess what? It says Casey McDaniel. This is my channel. You don't have to be here in my channel to hear my conversation if it's offending you. So moving on, like I was saying, okay, about how the people can lift you up and the people can tear you down. Those people that trust in you, in the government, those who put you in that place of power, believe it in you, okay? And believe it or not, God chooses who he wants to use for his justice. It could go either good or it could go bad, according to when the people mourn. You know what I'm saying? It's how the person is leading the nation. You hear it from the people. And right now, this country is in a struggle. Is in a struggle. Is in a battle between staying America and continuing to be a capitalism, okay? And also having your freedom and your liberty, and everybody work to make their own life work for them. Okay? We don't know that yet. This is we can't sit here and say that. He has just got in. He's doing so far everything he said he was going to do. He so far, to me, have been living up to his policy on immigration, okay? Trying to fix this economy, okay? Trying to make America great again, trying to get some law and some order, trying to enforce the law. And especially on breakdown on crime on notorious criminals and any country or enemy of ours that's trying to bring in their crime in our country, how we defend ourselves. Okay? So far, we can't call him as the worst president, okay? And I'm gonna teach. I'm gonna share something with y'all. And now I got to take this away from what I really came to discuss today about these young people today, and they out of pocket, okay? Look at them. They drinking, leaning back on the boat, got drinks in their hand, and all that stuff. And this is something, kids, parents don't know what they kids do when they leave the house. Kids act all goody two shoes. They got, we all was kids before, okay? Let's not be stupid. We all was these, I don't know how old, 18, 19-year-old college kids. They in they probably freshman year of college, doing stupid shit. They got their freedom now, you know what I'm saying? They living at home, but they still got their so-called, no, freedom in a way, because they still gotta they getting themselves together. They young people. They want to go out. They want to have drinks. They was 4th of July. They excited. And we all been there as teenagers. I know my life, it was a little different. We didn't have social media to influence us. Our lives wasn't influenced by personalities in media all the time. We were influenced more by our icons, music, music people like the Jackson 5. And as generation changed, things different was done differently. Going to concerts, seeing our favorite, like this time of the year, like in July, nothing but concerts will be going on in my generation. Okay, it will be the jam, the summer jam and all of that stuff. And even if we didn't have money to have a summer jam concert dollar in our pocket, guess where we were? I grew up in New York, okay? New York, New York, okay? I'm a New Yorker. And that's going to just be in me, because I ain't leave New York until I was like 42. So it's deep, deep in me. New York is deep in me, okay? So what I'm saying to you is that we didn't have money growing up as kids. And as we were growing up, Even though it was crime going on then, girls was SA then, PE predators was then. We had all this crazy stuff going on in the world. Yes, we did around us. We wasn't living in that type of way of fear. We only heard our parents' voice. Okay, we had curfews and restrictions, and the parents had control. See, this is different with this generation. A lot of them, these generations wasn't raised by their parents. They was raised by social media, maybe some things that, or by certain other people, kind of personalities out there, and um, reality shows, whatever. you know, we wasn't raised to be on social media. We didn't have social media, so we did everything what our parents told us to do. And guess what? We didn't have cell phones, and we made it home. Today, you got to say to your kids, try to get home. But I'm just saying, anyway, not no jokes aside. What I'm saying here today is that social media for clicks, views, likes, whatever, kids do the stupidest shit today. That's all I'm saying. Daring, terrifying shit. Or let's get some shit started. Let's happen this, that, and the other. And then something goes wrong. You know? Mm. So before we could really understand what's going on behind this picture, I see something else. I see a whole lot of something else. Well, one thing, these things that look like they supposed to be like little, some kind of drug in there or whatever like that. These kids now got these little liquid drinks get get high on. And what they THC or whatever they putting in that stuff right now. hmm No, I'm not underwater. Stop. You are silly, stupid talking about scuba masks. That's funny. No, I know they big, stupid looking glasses, but I like them. Anyway, I like them. I just like them, and I need to see. But that's cute. So anyway, like I said and everything, I'm an older person, so I look at things a little different. What I would look at if I was like right now with with all the racial stuff going on and everything. And the first thing I'm gonna do is say, "Oh yeah, that goddamn." And then if I got kids too, little black sons and stuff like that, I'm trying to raise up in this world. I'll be on, on alert too. You know what I'm saying? But since I'm not, and but I am an early educator. I always keep telling you, I raised babies. I did raise babies for quite a few generations, and I just know, I know what children can do and how they'll get you all in your feelings about things and have you breaking up your relationships with people, how they'll manipulate shit, how they just got shit all day. You a mother, you a father, y'all got feelings, y'all love your children, everybody love their kids, and they got now people fighting between each other and that really don't really hate each other, but it just does that. It just puts you to, you know, you see, as parents, that's what they do. They're gonna defend their babies. I don't care what happened to my child. Y'all white boys coming home, but my boy dad. Yeah, I understand that was stupid. Y'all drinking and carrying on, whatever, whatever, whatever. They all was stupid, and now they all, from what I understand, these boys here, these kids, mothers, judges and shit, and they had social media accounts that they took down, and they no longer active. Okay, but they can't have once something like this happen. That's another thing I wanted to talk about because the investigation is going on. That's what I'm talking about. Because the victim, due to the victim, and if they do an investigation, they can't be on social media. They can't. They cannot be on social media. What's they give them a gag order or something like that? They're not supposed to be on social media. Under the investigation, that's why they have to shut down their accounts. And they better lawyer up because there's an investigation going on. What happened to Nolan? All y'all was drinking. All y'all was doing whatever y'all doing from the photos we seeing. What was really going on that boat? You young people go out there, you do the stupid shit that you do. Y'all go together, y'all come back together. Ain't no talking about he left in the crowd somewhere. I ain't buying that. No mother gonna go for that shit. But the parents shouldn't be on social media either. They shouldn't. If they got people on social media, they need to have the gag on them. The Nolan's family too. Put the gag on all of them. Put the gag on them. They can't be on social media because that's just going to bring more and more racial division and all kind of crazy other shit. And people speculating and adding their little part to it and whatever like that. Because Nola ass ain't all innocent. Because he shouldn't have been out there drinking on no goddamn water with them. Okay? But they're gonna do the investigation. They're gonna find out what the fuck is going on. But I get it. I get it. Both sides I get. But I know that they knowing around, oh, they social media because they have to. An investigation is going on. They can't be on social media. Because the more they put out there, people are going to take it and spin it. Let them do what the job, the people, let the lawyers and all those who dealing with it in the courthouse deal with the shit. Not social media. Because social media putting a lot of goddamn people in damn trouble. And making it worse than what it is. You think you helping, but you're not. Let the people in the justice system, let them, the law enforcement or whoever, or those who doing the investigations, handle this situation. This shit should not be discussed on social media because look at the picture. Look at the picture. And look at some other things they've been flying around through his social media, like as the investigation going on, more and more stuff is popping up. Yes, we've been seeing it. We saw Shanquilla go all the way out of town with all these girlfriends and friends and got the beaten to death, and just let the investigation go on. You know what I'm saying? Social media is really truly being the problem when it's things like this going on. Look at the picture. On the water, they all leaning back, drinking, drinking, drinking. And probably a little, just stupid stuff that these young people do. And he probably went a little bit further. We don't know. And I ain't putting nothing out there to say that, but I'm just saying let the investigation go on. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I ain't talking about Trump right now. Okay? Leave Trump out of it. Leave the president of the United States out of the conversation. I'm not getting into it. See, I told you I came up with a different generation. Stop talking about the president of the United States of America on social media in that type of way. You could talk about him, but in a decent way, okay? Some of the things people be saying about the president of the United States, they don't get it. He's the president, the commander in chief over this nation. And you got to pray for your president because you got to pray for you. I don't care if he isn't it, but God placed him there, okay? But you need to be a decent human being. If he's not a decent human being, maybe you need to help him be a decent human being by being a decent human being yourself. I'm not going to sit up there and say, oh, to drag that man like that. I respect, first of all, I was taught to respect my elders, regardless of what race they were. And second of all, I was taught not to speak openly against the president of the United States of America in a derogatory and disgusting way and join anything that is supposed to be out there against the United States of America because this is the nation I live in. Hello? I don't know no other country. This has always been my country. This has always been the system in my country, but I know how to pray and I know how to make it through. So I'm not going against my own country. You don't have to mention his race, but I just know everybody want to say things against the president. It does. It's not about his race. It's about the way he did this and all these ugly names and mean things or whatever like that. He's a human being just like anybody else. But the thing is that you got to pray for him. He lived a whole lot of years. He's 80 years old. Those certain things don't come out you so quickly and so easily. But he's trying to do the best he can to keep this nation up. And we supposed to try to keep holding him up. Regardless of how the other Democrat, whatever crappy party feel, he's the president of the doggone United States of America, and he is going to be your president until it is time for him to us to elect another president. Okay, so I'm with America. Okay, I'm sorry, and with our government, I'm an American. Okay, I'm a patriot. Put it that way. I'm a patriot. Okay, if I have to be a patriot, but I'm a Christian first. I'm a Christian. And I'm putting Christ over this nation. And that's how I feel. You know? I'm putting Christ in front of my, you know, patriotism. Because it says, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, in the invisible, with liberty and justice for all. That's what you got to do. When you ain't a patriot, you don't belong here. Or you just gonna belong to be crazy in some mental institution. This person. We're not gonna do that. So okay. So anyway, I had to get a problem out of here. Okay. So what I'm saying and everything, people come in your chat and they interrupt them when you're trying to get something done on this platform that you want to discuss and you want to maybe help somebody out, you get these little bugs in the way. So you got to get rid of it. You got to get it out the way. So, like I said, I don't go against the president of the United States of America. It is what it is. I wasn't taught to be that way. I can't afford to be that way, especially when we got so many people out here that hate us. You want to know who your enemies are, because if they don't like this country and you from here, hello, hello. So I ain't no traitor. I ain't no Benedict Arnold or nothing like that. Okay, learn your American history. And I wanted to share with you also that I was looking at this interesting documentary. And it was a small little documentary just teaching a little bit about American history and about some American history presidents and their monuments, their graves, and everything where they're buried and stuff like that, and their story. And as I'm looking at these monuments, I found something interesting about them. Something so. You just got to know how it works for you in your heart with Jesus. And when everybody got a story, right? It's not how it begins, it's how it ends. The Alpha, the beginning, because God is your author. He's the author of the finisher of your life. He writing your story. So as you going along in life, you doing something in life that God is putting you to do. Whether you're going to do a good job at it or whether you're going to, but in the end, you'll be judged by your works here on earth. And that's why we have people that have their funerals and all this other stuff. But some people just throwing their relatives away with all of this stuff for them to save the money and stuff. So they just throw them in some ashes, cremate their body and stuff like that. That's the way I look at it. That's just my way of thinking. I ain't gonna get into all that. People do what they want with their loved ones, but I'm just on a spiritual journey. So as I'm looking, hearing the story, as I'm watching this document, they showing us this all the presidents' graves. Like y'all sitting here, y'all talking about bad Trump this, Trump that. And I'm listening to the story of these other presidents that was here way before Trump. And I'm hearing their story being told through their monuments and how they buried, how these presidents were extraordinary, buried extraordinarily. And then how you can see God in them and how you can see how they rule. I mean, how they were buried, you're going to see how the people loved them. And then you're going to see how the people weren't really sure about them. There's mixed feelings there. And then you're going to see where the people just hated them go to hell. You know what I'm saying? The way they buried these presidents is the way they led this nation. And how the people loved them and how the people hated them when they ruled. So you see it like a cross. You see it like up for the cross, down to Satan. And then you in between, like in between here, like on the crossroad. Those that's in the middle, they're in the middle between good and evil. They in the middle. But then there's some that went up. They brought the nation up. And then there's some who were just like in the middle with the nation. Here, you don't know. They had mixed feelings about them, about whether they was in a leadership for either themselves or they was in it for, just for themselves, or were they leadership really for the people. So they like in the middle. And those are the ones who are mostly planted on the wall in they Muslim, whatever they call it, how they do their thing. And president, that's where they have it's quite a few presidents, but one I particularly remember is Ronald Reagan. Was it Reagan? It's Reagan. He's on the wall. So basically, Reagan was buried where people really was like not really sure. Reagan. Some loved him, some hated Reagan. Some loved him, some. So that's why they got him on the wall like that to know his story. But you can tell who the presidents was that the people loved because they monuments are up. And if it's not that up, it's going to be grand where you can see who they were and how the people love them. Some guys, oh my God, when they were showing it, I want you to go read it. And when you read, they not saying it. But this is how God judged them in the end of their leadership because the way the people loved them. And so when the people have loved them, they did a grand thing for America. So you can tell, what's his name got an eagle on top of his. It's so nice the way they got his. His is beautiful in his story of his leadership and how they got the president's leadership things. That's how you're going to tell when Trump comes to his end of his road. You can't judge him now. God will judge him in the end. And in the end, you're going to see how the people going to bury him. Because how you could tell his leadership was loved by the people in America. So that's why I say that's their judgment. God used whoever he want and for his judgment. So you can't judge him while he's still here. You can't judge George H.W. Bush. He's still here. You understand what I'm saying? It's when that time comes how he's going to be buried and how he's going to be remembered as a leader over this nation. And Lincoln's, his is up, up. And I mean, America loved Lincoln. Lincoln got even Washington. The way monuments are up for Lincoln. I mean, Lincoln got states like they just did a statue for Lincoln in Florida. They just did a statue in Lincoln. Lincoln, I don't know how many states Lincoln is in. I know he's in one in Illinois because that's where it started off from in Springfield, Illinois. They took his body. They took Lincoln. Lincoln is the most grandest. They had the most grandest burial for Lincoln. You know how many weeks it took them? 2 weeks of taking him on a tour through all these states. Lincoln, I think he got America sold up. The people loved Lincoln. That's why they even got the Lincoln Memorial. And then they got the Washington Mall or whatever. And then they got the Lincoln Memorial. And Lincoln is up. You see what I'm saying? You're going to see that memorial. And then you got Lincoln sitting up in the chair, the other part of Lincoln. That's how God judged him in the end in his leadership over this nation. And that's what I am telling you. It's a spiritual thing. In the end, how the people gonna judge them. What's his name? What's his name? Thing is buried in the nobody even looking at it. What's his name again? Jay Johnson. Oh, look at they. You know what? I'm gonna tell you the channel I saw it on, so you could go see it for yourself. I look at the graves. Look how they are buried in the end, of their life. What's his name wasn't ever able to be the president, but they still gave him Arlington, as they finished him before he can even get there. And that's John F. Kennedy. But they did do something grand for Kennedy because they still got his name to remember him because he's a martyr. So is McKinley. McKinley one is nice too. Most of the presidents that really didn't get a chance to really finish their term in their leadership that was assassinated, those ones have very big. They not up like this, but they have a nice big grand, you know, um, monument. Like oh my God, it's just beautiful. Somebody is buried inside of the church cathedral. Who is buried in the cathedral? It's President Grant got a good one too. His one is beautiful too. Who? Oh my God, Dad, this president is on my head. He's on my mind, but they buried him inside. When you go in that church, the cathedral, he's buried. Oh my God, it's so beautiful. It is so beautiful, like royalty. What's his name is bad. Just go look at these presidents' graves. I mean, you'll get excited because you wasn't here when they ruled, but the people loved them. The way they were buried, the people who loved them, and they loved Lincoln. Lincoln is they just did one opening amendment. They did a whole lot for Lincoln throughout this whole entire 250-year celebration. Lincoln got more recognition than Washington. So it's either going to be a Lincoln moving forward or Washington moving back. That's where we at in America. Yep. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good, good, good. I'm on a video. Hello? Now I'm back, y'all. I'm sorry. That was my sister. And I was just, greeting her and everything. And I just didn't want to put nobody in the video. So I said, let me come back up this way. And I told her I finished this and I come back and talk to her. Yeah, so this was what the topic was about. That's why I had the photo, because it was basically talking about stupid young people today. And that's why I was like saying people need to just let the investigation go on and don't be doing too much on this on social media. And, because the kids, their social media accounts and everything were taken down because they can't. They can't be on social media right now. There's an investigation going on. And they on a gag. They doing the investigation, and people already thinking that it's something where they don't really know what's going on. They weren't there, so don't put no more to it than it already is, because look, they all hanging out on a boat in the water drinking, and they're young, and that's what young people do. That's all I'm saying. Okay, that's what I was talking about in the photo. But anyway, I was talking about the president's monuments. You got to go visit these presidents, or I'm going to give you the document where you could go to the channels where you could see them do the documents on where they buried at and how they buried them, how they tombs look. Lincoln's is up, and it's one president. They got his with a sword. As you go in inside the graveyard where he is designed like a sword. Yep, it's really nice. The way they did it is so interesting. So you can tell who they were when they was here and how they remembered as they led this nation. Their story. It's very interesting. I said, when you learn America, boy, ain't nobody coming here to take nothing. This land here is America's land, okay? The people, the nation that is powerful. It's very powerful. The story behind every president that served in this nation and how that's why I keep telling people this is a Christian nation. Now, not all presidents were Christians. One of them, he was buried in his Quaker. One of the presidents, he had that Quaker faith. And the Quakers were very, very religious. Very religious. And believe it or not, the Quakers was the ones running the Underground Railroad. Yeah, Quakers are Christians. And they was the ones who was freeing the slaves. They was the ones that was like working in the Christian, undercover Christian manner, and they was the ones finding them ways to how to get them, you know, to the free states. Where they wouldn't have to be under bondage, but it still was kind of a lot of stuff they had to deal with as far as racism, prejudice, Jim Crow, all that other, stuff like that went on. There was always a way to be prejudiced towards them where life was really difficult for them. Still, though, they had help through the Quakers. The Quakers was helping them. Even through their Christian journeys, the Quakers were helping the free slaves, and they was helping blacks, anybody. Some of them was even being killed and everything else like that because they were Christians. They were Christians and they believed truly in that Bible. I forgot what president that was, but anyway, they were very, very deep into the word of God, and they didn't want nothing to show to give them the glory. They wanted something. They were humble for the Lord. They just wanted something small, even though they did great things. They did great things, but they still wanted something small. They didn't want to be remembered in a as somebody. They wanted to humble themselves to God. One of them was buried in his Quaker. That was his request. And Lincoln's son Robert, he did his wife did his father a dishonor. Okay? I mean, did her husband a dishonor. Because see, Lincoln, he's buried also with his wife and his children that passed away. Lincoln got so many, I mean, he got so many doggone monuments and places where he's actually buried is with his children and his wife and his children. Okay. And he had one child that did live, but he didn't have a good relationship with his father in the end because his father spent more time for the people. His father was more out there for the people than he was for his son. And then on top of that, he didn't feel he got a he was the oldest son. And his other two brothers, they passed before him. They left they child died in their childhood. And of course their mother suffered a nervous breakdown. His wife suffered a deep depression, and Lincoln was tearing him apart too because he had to be out there, but he couldn't really function in his president, doing what he was doing as an attorney. He was a lawyer in his politics and his work. With her mind being so sick, because most of the time presidents, they have to have a woman with a strong mind. You know what I'm saying? Even through they going through strugglings with trauma or whatever, they still got to know how to pull themselves up. They can't because they got such a big responsibility to the nation. So she was like really Mary, his wife. So he found a way to try to help her, and somebody sent for this woman that was a seamstress. Okay, I don't know. She found her way. She was a black woman. She found herself to. helped Lincoln wife through her depression. And while she was there and everything, she had somebody she can talk to. And as she was sharing her story with this woman, she was opening up to her. Her name was Elizabeth. I think her name was Elizabeth McKinley or something like that. It was some kind of name. She was a slave woman, and she came all the way from one place to all the way down to Illinois, to that part of Illinois, Springfield, whatever, Illinois or whatever. And life was a lot more freer for her there because she was able to open up a business and everything else like that. She was able to work and do her seamstress work because she learned how to be a seamstress since she was like 4 years old. She was four since she learned how to be a seamstress. She did have a son and everything from a rape, I think, in those days, I guess, baby. But he passed away because he went in the military, in the Union Army. Some things happened. It was a civil war, whatever like that. He passed away in the Civil War. So she found her way to President Lincoln's, and she became a friend to Lincoln's wife, sort of like a companion type of friend, somebody to talk to, somebody to open up to, somebody that can listen, somebody that was able to sew real good, make her extravagant dresses for her inaugurals, because she was married to the president, so she always had to have the most flyest gowns and dresses and all that. So this woman was a very good, in her time, one of the greatest seamstress. She was a seamstress and she worked really well. So she went, and that was a very good job back then. You made money. She had her own business and everything because she was able, the customers that she was able to get, the rich woman at that time was able to pay her a good amount of money, and she worked her way out of slavery because she had to pay for her freedom and her child freedom. And she had to actually pay for her freedom, was like $1,200 back then. That's a lot of money. But she did it because she was able to get the help through some of her customers, and they were able to give her the money for her to be able to, you know, get herself away. She was making that money. And she had her own business when she got there, but she had most of her customers, a lot of people, well, of course, white customers, whatever. And they were rich women. In the end, she wrote a book. She published a book, and it revealed a lot of secrets about Lincoln's wife, Mary. Of course, he still had a living son, Robert. Robert, people that saw the book and everything, because what she did is she wanted this woman, to take her dress, is because when Lincoln died and everything, she came, she was struggling with her health, her mental health, and of course, all the privileges that she did have, those things kind of lost with Lincoln. Those things went when Lincoln was gone. People were more into him. They wasn't into her. You know what I'm saying? So things started falling apart for her life, whatever. So she needed to find some money to keep up her standard of living. So she ended up trying to sell some of her dresses to make some more money because the dresses were very beautiful and extravagant. And being that she was the first lady, people would have been running for those dresses to buy them. But it became scandal of her life, and it became scandal of her life. You the first lady and you out here selling because you need some money for your you know what I'm saying, your bills. You was living, it kind of like put her kind of like in a bad, made her reputation look bad. So her son and everything, of course, he already admitted her after her and what's her name, the Elizabeth woman, the black woman, and her broke up friendships and everything, and they never spoke to and wrote to each other again and everything. They just went on quietly on with their life because the black woman, of course, Lincoln's wife, her name being scandalizing, of course they knew that they liked her work, but the thing is that she was black, and that kind of made her lose a lot of her customers. So she kind of like had to get rid of her shop and do all her stuff and get rid of all her stuff and move on and go find a place to live. And she went to go live someplace where she did find a room, but she always kept the picture of Lincoln and her in that room. Even when she died, his picture was hanging on the wall, you know. And the thing with her story is in the book, but the book that was of course he, the son and everything, wanted the books to be removed. So it was very hard to find the book. I don't know if they got the, well, somebody found it because the way to tell the story, they had to find the book. But the book is, after he died, whatever, I guess he released some of the book, but some things he destroyed. You see what I'm saying? He redid it. He took out whatever other parts was to the book, but he did probably leave some things and had the book written or something like that. I think it is. And when he died, in many years, and oh my God, his son Robert, that man was traumatized. When Lincoln got killed, he just was trying to get back from, he came home from school. He wanted to go, home. Kids, young kids, they come out of college, because he was a lawyer too. He was studying law. But he wasn't trying to do the stuff his father did, kind of law, go into politics like that, deep and heavy into politics, whatever, even though he did serve in some politics, but he always felt that people were only putting him there because they liked his father, they didn't like him. You know what I'm saying? So he really had a real traumatic life. Even when McKinley was killed, he was right there. And then when he was on his way to another president, that one was assassinated. And then he almost died with the man that killed his father, John Wilkes Booth brother, saved him on the train tracks. The man that killed his father was the man that brought brothers to the man that killed his father. You know what I'm saying? So it was like his life was traumatic. He tried to be more like he's tried to stay very low key with the politics. He didn't really get that heavy into it. He did serve in some secretary, whatever position in politics in the background. He never wanted to be in the front line, and he did not want to run for presidency because of the traumatic experiences that he had with his father getting shot and killed and dying, and that just really was. But in the end, he did request, he wanted to be buried with his father. When his life ended, his doggone wife had him buried somewhere else. Showed you what kind of wife he had in the end, right? How she felt about him. She dishonored him. Instead of burying this man, I said the United States, they could dig him up and put him where he requested, but I guess they're not going to do that. But that was kind of like bury him next to his father. You know what I'm saying? That was what his request was. But now we know what kind of wife he married, because in the end, you know what I'm saying? I guess that was the family plot there with her and their kids and everything else like that. But still, and they kids, just wanted the child just died. I don't think their kids had any kids. But Robert was basically the last one of Lincoln's. He was the last one, and I don't think his kids had any kids. That's what I'm trying to say. They just said the last Lincoln just passed away of his bloodline. But I said, I don't think that's all his bloodline, because he got a sister. And the Lincoln name is the father's name. So Lincoln inherited his father's name because he was born to Lincoln. But who was his father? His father's name was they gave his father's name, and then Lincoln got other brothers and sisters too. Lincoln does have other siblings. Okay, it wasn't him. He wasn't the only child. He does have a sister with him and his his whole sister. But then his father remarried, and he got other siblings that are half brothers and sisters in the Lincoln family. In that Lincoln family, so there is still Lincolns, because I got a cousin down in South Carolina who was a Lincoln. Lincolns. Okay? So, but I'm just saying that people don't understand these things. You got to learn the story and the history of these presidents. Because of the family tree line. Because remember, his son Robert just passed away, and he died pretty old. He lived pretty long. His son lived a good amount of years. His son lived really good for a long, 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 long time. And he was just, and he did request to be buried by his father, even though he didn't get a chance to rekindle the relationship because it became late for him because he came home from school, and as soon as he got home from school and everything, this John Wilkes Boots dude shot his dad. Okay, and he had to rush and sit there and see his father, with a bullet and dying on the bed, and sit there and see that. So he had a very traumatic experience. He only came out in public one time, and that was when they was doing something for his father, and he was there, and he never came back in public for a whole crowd of people again. It was very hard to get him out in public because he was. I'll be paranoid too. Shit. I don't think nobody would want to be in their right mind. Some live through some experiences like that. I go somewhere and live in the goddamn woods. I'm serious. I'd rather go live in the ant with the animals. I'd rather go live there with the animals. You know what I'm saying? So, anyway, his story is very interesting. When you learn some of the presidents of the United States of America, it's like, wow. And I like the way that everything is on Mount, Rushmore. And that's another thing. Y'all need to learn about Mount Rushmore. That's another spiritual thing. They up on the mountain. And everything points to God. Like, we not worshiping these presidents. We worshiping the Spirit of God. We worshiping the God Almighty, his amazing work. Because God worked through them. You see, they don't work through God. God works through them. God speaks through them. He uses them for his judgment. He uses them for whatever nation he wants them to rule. And this is how they, work for the Lord and how they be remembered in the end of their story. And we all gonna have to have a story in the end. How it's not how it begins, it's how it's end. And I think that just how behind a monument and their stories, you could tell the people they served under them loved them, the way they buried them, and how they keep their stories being told through generations to generations, through the ancestors of their children in America. So it is what it is. The children they adopted through biological children and through the children they had through their leadership, their spiritual children. Just like they say, Father Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Remember, Abraham was a doggone, when you read the Bible, where he came from a pagan, he didn't know no God. He had a pagan life. And then God brought him to be, God changed his name, and he became Abraham. And then it came after Abraham, it came Isaac, through that genealogy, Isaac, Jacob. And as the story goes on, and all the lineage of all the gods through the Hebrew children came from that bloodline, that lineage. It's a lineage. It's a lineage, and a lineage is difference. It's difference in a lineage than the difference in heritage. You can have the same heritage, but you can't have the same lineage. You understand what I'm saying? It's a difference. It's so much to know about yourself. You can have the same heritage, but not the same lineage. We could be black, but our lineage, our family lineage, and our bloodline, and the places we come from, and the other things that's the lineage. You know, like the Foundation Americans. That's a lineage. The line of your history. They don't know anything about being born in Africa or doing African things and culture and everything, but there's African, some kind of heritage to our people, like black people being suffering and in the same, suffering manner in some kind of way, and how we identify ourselves and doing certain things as far as with our hair, black hair, and our culture in some ways or whatever like that, but it's a difference in our lineage, like our family bloodline. There's a bond. There's some things that just don't connect with us in the lineage part, but it connects with us in heritage And that way, because lineage, people in their lineage, they can relate to a whole lot more than people in heritage. So it's a lot to know. It's just a whole lot to study as you go along in life. People that will connect with you and people who only have things in common with you in certain things, but other things they don't, you know. So with that being said, I will be back with you all maybe tomorrow. You all take care. Have a blessed and wonderful evening. And be safe. I don't think I'll be coming back talking about this again about being stupid and young and doing stupid things that can end up with consequences, And let's not jump to conclusions. Let's wait till the investigations continue to go on. Don't listen to people pumping you up on social media with all the hype and about the, racial division conversations, whatever. Be careful with those conversations. I'm just saying, as a Christian, be careful what you listen to. That's all I'm saying. Watch your ears. Watch your ears. You don't want these people pumping you up with all kind of crazy foolishness to make you just go crazy and do something stupid to yourself too. So anyway, I'm getting out of here. God bless you, love you, and thank you all for coming in. Peace.